They say timing is everything.
Whoa.
Strike three, and he knew it.
And in Riftbound and in life, and whoever they are, I guess, they're right. One of the most challenging and rewarding parts of any card game, or any turn-based game in general, is mastering the timing of when to make your plays. Any sort of real-time game, trying to line up headshots in Call of Duty, something as simple as hitting a baseball with a bat, timing comes down to pure dexterity. Success comes from your ability to quickly and accurately manipulate physically the world around you, which is not easy. However, in turn-based games, your reflexes aren't tested, but rather your ability to take in information, process it accurately, and formulate a plan of action. This means your only limits are your own knowledge and your ability to process and output solutions, which can be owned with time and practice. You could stick me in batting cages for 8 hours a day for the next year, and I still wouldn't be able to hit a Clayton Kershaw curveball, but with practice and preparation, you can become an excellent card player. Today on Arcane Academy, we're going to go over spell and ability timing in Riftbound, how it works, how it plays out in-game, and how to best use it to your advantage. But before we get into it, if you enjoy what we're doing here at Arcane Academy, please be sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a video. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and if you're really feeling it and want to help the channel grow, hit that like button or especially that hype button. This channel is also brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find all your card game needs, from singles to sealed products and more. Use promo code ARCANE for 5% off your order at CoolStuffInc.com. There are 3 speeds that things happen in Riftbound: normal or slow speed, action speed, and reaction speed.
It's not how much time you have. It's how you use it.
The default state for basically everything that happens in Riftbound is normal speed. This includes all spells that have an action or reaction marker, as well as all abilities of units, gears, and legends that don't have an action or reaction marker. Note, this is different from other card games like Magic the Gathering, which defaults all abilities to instant speed. The criteria for playing a normal speed spell or using a normal speed ability is very simple. You may do so during your own turn when you're in your action phase, which is just most of your turn, and there is an empty chain. Nothing else is waiting to happen, so whatever spell you want to play or ability you want to activate will be starting a new chain. A note on the chain: this is a way to organize spells and abilities that are being played or triggering in a way that allows more than one thing to be pending at a time. More on this in a bit. Note that playing units or gear also follows the same timing pattern. Some normal speed examples are playing a spell like Mobilize, recycling a card to give Vi Destructive +1 might, spending an energy and exhausting the Victor legend to make a 1 might recruit token. This is a very important power level distinction. Vi Destructive is a fantastic card, but you do need to commit to the effect before you start getting into combat. Once you enter a showdown, you will not have a chance to pump Vi anymore. If Vi's ability had action or reaction speed, it would be a fundamentally different and exponentially more powerful card. Note how different this is for a card like Mobilize, as unlike Vi, giving Mobilize action or reaction does not really change the texture or power level of the card.
We learn from action. Move or die.
The next level of speed is action speed. Action speed is often seen on removal and combat-focused spells like Challenge, Ride the Wind, and Voidseeker. Action speed is actually fairly similar to normal speed, with one key exception. Action speed can be played during a showdown, regardless of if it's a combat showdown involving units from opposing players of the same battlefield, or a non-combat showdown, one player's unit or units moving to an unoccupied battlefield. Like normal speed, action speed cards and effects can only be played when the chain is empty and nothing else is waiting to resolve. This can get a little tricky, as even though it feels like you're reacting to the showdown, you're still just taking actions when nothing else is pending. This is where timing trickiness starts to come in. In order to move to the conclusion of the showdown, both players will have an opportunity to pass their priority and play a spell or ability, and this priority will reset every time a player takes an action or an effect triggers. Only when both players have passed priority in succession will the showdown continue to damage and then conclusion. Some action speed examples are playing a cleave to improve your attacker in a combat showdown, playing a ride the wind in a combat showdown to move your own unit out of danger and to the other battlefield, playing a Void Seeker to defend a battlefield against an attacker. It's important to note that while you may feel like you're reacting to your opponent moving into a battlefield, that action spells and effects are not actually reacting to anything. Your opponent may play an action like Cleave on their Watchful Sentry to improve their attacker into your defender, which may cause you to play a Void Seeker to kill it before it deals damage, but every action is being played after everything else has already resolved. If you want to get tricky and really be able to respond to stuff, you're going to need a reaction.
What a reaction!
Reaction speed is where the game really takes off. Anytime a spell is played or an ability is activated or triggers, priority opens for reactions to be played and a chain to start. Okay, what the hell is a chain? The idea of a chain, or a stack as it's referred to in other games, is that you always have an opportunity to respond to the things your opponent is doing. For example, you move your stalwart Poro onto an open battlefield in an attempt to conquer. In the showdown, your opponent plays an action, Hextech Ray, to deal 3 damage to and kill your stalwart Poro. Because a spell is waiting to resolve, a chain has begun where you can only play reactions. In response to your opponent's Hextech Ray, you play a Discipline to give your stalwart Poro +2 might to survive the Hextech Ray. Before any of this happens, your opponent is given another priority window to play their own reactions, and they decide to play a Stupefy in response to shrink the Poro back down -1 might so it will die to the Hextech Ray. But you aren't done yet. You've got a chance to respond with a reaction as well, and you have a Defy to counter the Stupefy. At this point, your opponent is out of tricks and can only pass priority back, and once both players have passed on their chance to react, it starts to resolve the chain, which looks like this. Chains always resolve backwards. That's last in, first out, letting the responses happen first. This means Defy will resolve and counter with Stupefy. Next up is Stupefy, which is no longer there because it was countered. Then comes the Discipline, which makes Stalwart Poro have 4 total might. And then lastly, the original Hextech Ray will resolve, dealing 3 damage to the now 4 might Stalwart Poro. Note that at any point in this chain, more reactions could have been played. When it comes to reactions, the sky is the limit, and there are so many possible avenues for skill expression. Every time a spell is played, or an ability is activated or triggered, a new potential chain starts. Most of the time, both players will just pass their priority here and the spell or ability will resolve, but all of these potential windows create so much opportunity for tricky and optimal plays. For example, say you've got a Jinx Loose Cannon as your legend, but you're going into your turn with 2 cards in hand and therefore can't trigger the draw effect. You can react to the Loose Cannon trigger in your beginning phase by playing Gust on your opponent's unit. Then, when the Loose Cannon trigger resolves, it will see only 1 card in your hand and you can draw that extra card. Always be looking for creative things to do with your reaction spells and effects. One important note about reactions, however, is that you need to be given a priority window to actually play them. Say you have a Consult the Past you want to cast, but your opponent never casts a spell or activate or triggers an ability. You'll never actually have a window to play your reaction with nothing to react to. When units and gear are played in Riftbound, they do not create a chain, they just happen. So in our Consult the Past example, if your opponent just plays a unit and passes the turn, they will never open a priority window for you. This is different from a game like Magic the Gathering, which passes priority to both players during every phase. Also important to note is that priority is different than focus. When you are in a showdown and playing actions, if the attacking player plays an action, let's say a Cleave, once that chain resolves, focus will move to the other player first and allow them to play an action, rather than remaining on the attacking player. This means both players get a chance to play actions back and forth, rather than the attacking player being able to just cast action after action before the defending player can. However, this also means that you can steal priority from your opponent with an action, as now they need to act first for the next go around. If they pass, you get the option to pass also and move to damage. This is extremely non-intuitive if you are a Magic player, but an important part of showdowns. So, to recap, normal speed spells and abilities, the default when you don't see an action or reaction marker, can only be played during your turn when the chain is empty. Action speed spells and abilities can only be played on your turn when the chain is empty or during a showdown on either player's turn when the chain is empty and you have focus. Reaction speed spells and abilities can be played whenever you have priority, be it in response to a spell or an ability at basically any time, noting that units, gears, and resource generation cannot be responded to. Riftbound is cut from the classic, easy to learn, hard to master cloth that most great games are, so don't feel bad if this does not all feel natural yet. The skill ceiling in Riftbound is extremely high, which is awesome because of how much room for growth there is in it, so be patient and treat every game like a learning experience. Well, that's all we got today here on Arcane Academy. If any questions or thoughts, please leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos, and if you're really feeling it, hit that like button or that hype button to really support the channel's growth. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.